In today's tutorial, what we're going to do is make a simple starfish or sea star that you can use in your scenes or in your games. So let's just add in a simple mesh, and the mesh we're going to add in is a cylinder. Now the cylinder here has got too many faces, so we're just going to actually change this to 10. And then what we'll do is just minimize this for a second, and we'll scale cylinder on the Z, so S then Z by 0.25. And what we can do now is we can actually go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, go on line select, select this line, Control R, we'll put a loop cut in there, left then right click will fix it. So what we can do now is we can then go on point select. So once we're on point select, do is select every other point. But the easiest way to do it is go on select and then check a deselect, and then we'll scale this up. In fact, let's press the 7 key on your number pad and look from the top. They are still selected, and we'll scale this up. So press the S key and you can see that you've got your simple star, and just scale it until you think it looks about right for your starfish. Press the tab key to come out of edit mode, and I'm going to rotate in the Z by 180. So if we look from the top by pressing the 7 key, as you can see, we've now got our star. Press the tab key again to go back into edit mode, and I'm going to select this top face and scale it down. No, I'm not. What I'm going to do is extrude, then scale. So E, then S, and G, and Z, just to move it up just like so. And then we'll go on line select here, and we'll select this line by pressing the Alt key like that, and we can go into this and press Control and B, which is the bevel, and we can add in a bevel. So I'm just going to add that quick bevel in. So add it in. As you can see, it's done that, but what we can do is add more segments and make it more rounded. So we've made our simple shape, come out of edit mode, and we're left with this. Move it so you can actually see the bottom face. Press the tab key again to go into edit mode, and we'll select this and do the same on the bottom. So E and S, G and Z. This time I don't want it to be actually as dome shape, so I'll Control and B again, and then we'll just do that until it's in the right place, which I think is about there. I've left that at 4 segments so we can mirror the top. Now here I think I'm going to actually Control and R to add another loop cut, just to round it off that little bit more, and Control and B, select the line select by pressing the Alt key down, Control and B. I'm just going to take that down and then just expand that out until it's in the position I want. So just really sort of rounding it off. So next what we'll do is we'll add in the parts of our starfish that will enable us to move it in a game engine if we so wished, and this also could be rigged. So what we're going to do now is go to this line here, Control and R, press the 5 key just like that, and it adds these loop cuts. So left click, right click to fix, and same on the bottom, Control and R, I'll hit the 5, left then right click, and that fixes them into place like so. So we've got that kind of shape. Now the order of these things that we're doing is quite simple, but what we're going to do now is, you see how we've got these lines here. What we're going to do is add extra geometry to our shape just to make this work. So you've got that central line there, so what we'll do is select that central line, Control and R, and this time I'm going to hit 6, and then select this, Control and R. This is your normal one on your keyboard. Press 6, and all I'm doing is actually selecting these lines all the way round. Control and R, 6, then left and right click just to fix. Control and R by 6, left and the right, Control and R by 6. Oops, I did 8 then, so I'm just going to Control and Z to undo that. So I want to keep the same uniform shape all the way round. If you select multiple lines, it doesn't seem to work, so that's why I'm not doing it. It doesn't take you long, and I think we're coming up to the last one. So now we've got our simple starfish. Press the 7 key and we're going to look from the top. As you can see the lines, so you can actually shade smooth at this point. Oh, shade smooth. Got our star there, and this is where we add the texture, and then we do the actual point crunching operation after this. At this point, because we're adding the texture, it's always a good idea to save it. So save your project, file, save, and I've just saved the actual project in my scene. So I've saved the project, and what we need to do now is press the 7 key, go into the material, and we're going to add a material. Now this material I'll put a link below in the tutorial so you can actually download this texture. So I'm going into base color and I'm going to add an image texture, open the image texture, and as you can see what I've done is actually I've got the pathway starfish, and I'm going to actually hit the texture, and I've got a JPEG texture in there, and as you can see if we hover over it, it's a starfish. Select the JPEG like that, and if we go into render mode you can see that you've got the starfish there. So next what we'll do is we will go into edit mode by pressing the A key, and what we can do is now select the top faces, but you do this by going on face select, because as you can see some have been missed there, and we go on to faces. So now with faces selected we can go into UV editing like this, and you can see this big old mess. So we'll press the 7 key, look from the top, and what we'll do is we'll now, because we've only got half of the starfish selected just like that, we can press the U key and we can do project from view, and as you can see we've got a star there. So now what we'll do is actually do the same for the bottom. So Control and 7 key makes us look from the bottom, and what we can do is just select the bottom faces in this case, and we'll press the U key again. So U, project from view, and as you can see we've got 2 starfishes and there's nothing else selected. If you do the other operation before that, because some faces are vertical, you won't get the texture correct. So as you can see this texture is pointing the wrong way, so if you actually just select one of the faces, press the L key and we'll rotate by 180. So now we've got 2 textures, and one is the top and one is the bottom, and the one we just rotated is the bottom. So I'm just going to move that roughly into our starfish shape or sea star, and all I'm doing is lining up these lines on all 4 edges just like that. Then we'll go into the top, press the L key which selects those, and we'll press the G key and move it just about the same, so we're just trying to centralize it in that point. And now what we'll do is scale these up. So scale just like that, and as you can see it goes off center. So what you can do now is G and Z, no I'm sorry, G and Y in this because it's a 2D image, and just centralize it the best you can. You can actually reposition these individually by hitting the proportional editing if you want to be more accurate, but for this tutorial, just to keep it nice and simple, what I'm just going to do is scale this up until they're just short of the end. Maybe move it down slightly and scale on the X just to actually, so we can actually re-centralize these. And I'm quite happy with the position of that one, and we'll do the same by selecting a point on this, pressing the L key to select all, and I think that's more or less central. And if we go into render mode here, what we can see is that we've got our starfish shape. Just let me press the tab key. So we've got the bottom there and we've got the top there, and we've made ourselves the starfish. So back into layout, and now this is where we actually will close these points. So press the tab key, select point select, and we'll just select each one of the endpoints. Sorry, did that wrong. I was pressing the control key, so I'm going to press the shift key just to select multiple points, just like this. You don't have to be exact, you can be close and it still will select them. And then what we'll do is Control and B to add the bevel, and we'll just hit vertices and we'll do this. 2, 3. Just doing it until it bottoms out because we've got clamping overlap, and then just take it back slightly until you see it move again, just like that. And then press tab key to come out of edit mode. So you've now made your starfish. So then again, let's just save this because on the next bit, we're going to be actually changing the shape of our starfish. If you muck it up, you've got something you can go back to. If you put file and save as, what you can do is you've got star 2 there, and what we'll do is just press the plus key just to add another 1 to that and save as, so you can actually backtrack through your modeling. Now for this, I'm just going to add a bit more topology to this. What I'm going to do is go into modifiers, which is a spanner or a wrench, add in a modifier, and this modifier is going to be a subdivision surface modifier. So press the S, subdivision surface, and I'm just going to leave that at 1 and then apply. Now our starfish, you can make it thicker by just selecting all and scaling this up, scaling the Z, and it's up to you how big you want it. I'm just going to scale this back down in the Z, just like that. So we've got our starfish there, and let's add a little bit of detail to this. So what I'm going to do is actually select this line select, and I'm going to select the central one in here, Control and R, just to actually select that central one there, Control R, Control Alt and R, sorry, and then I'm just going to select them all here, just like this. And the reason I'm doing this, I want to add a little bit of shape to this, so I'm just going to put into proportional editing like that, and G and Z. As you can see, that's making all that go up. So if we reduce our mouse wheel, we can actually get a bit of shape into our models. Move that down until it's where I want it to be, which is there, because I just want that kind of cross shaping on our starfish. Now the texture on here looks a bit bland because it just looks like we've pasted something on it, which would be probably alright if your starfish is in the actual background like this. But what we're going to do now is just go into the shading tab, and I'm just going to space these out. Right, so just select that, move it over slightly, because that's the end output, so it doesn't matter even if it's off the screen. And what we'll do is we're going to add in the colour to the displacement. Adding the colour into the displacement now gives us that kind of texture on our starfish, and as you can see, it's now got a bit of bump to it. It reflects the light, and if we added an HDRI, it would make it even better. But what we're going to do now is we're going to add in the displacement, and we're going to select, you could select bump, but I'm just going to actually select the normal map, because what selecting the normal map is and then dropping it between the colour and the displacement, it means you can alter the strength of things. Just like that. So there's next to no bump there because it's set to 0, and just add it until you've got the texture you want. Just gives you that little bit more control, and you can always bake the texture if you wanted to actually export it into a game engine. There we are. So looking at the starfish, doesn't look very alive. What we'll do is look from the top, and I'm just going to file and save this, save as. Just add another 1 just so we can backtrack, save as. So that's not on number 4 now. And what we can do now is go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, just like that. Go into point select, and I'm going to make sure that proportional editing is selected. What we've got here is we've got the proportional editing. So if I select this point somewhere near the end, and then G, and then grow my influence ring like that. So it's just covering the whole leg. What I can do is then add some shape to my model just to make the starfish look a bit more real, just by adding a bit of distortion. And of course you can actually have multiples and you can just move it like that. And that's why we saved it, because if you actually move it really like that and forget to change it, Control and Z will undo it. But sometimes you've changed something too far and you just want to start again. Now, if we want to actually move one of these arms up, we can actually look from the side and G and Z. Shrink the influence ring by rolling my mouse wheel, and we can actually make the tentacles either drop to the ground or we can move them up in the air, just like that, just to make it a bit more real. The other thing you can do is you can actually select a point like this, and then you could rotate it, and you end up with this kind of thing. But it's entirely up to you how you want your starfish to look, but you can make things look alive. You've got yourself a completed starfish. Now you can add different parts to this. You can add in tentacles coming down or legs. That's done quite easily by just actually selecting points and E and Z, just like that, to add a leg. But what you can do then is, of course, you can add a subdivision modifier to actually make your legs come to life. But that'll take a long time, and what I can do is I'll make a final one and maybe on the thumbnail just so you can see it. But as you can see, we've got a pretty realistic looking starfish right from the start. And of course, to finish your project, we can press the save key. Save as Blender Starfish 5. Now, thank you for joining me on this tutorial. It's a quick and easy tutorial that actually covers quite a lot of subjects on how to model something in Blender that can then be used in a game engine. And to unsubdivide this, because we've actually altered the shape of this and make it less complicated for a games engine, what you can do is go into mesh, go on face select, and then go on to edge. And what we've got a thing called unsubdivide. And then with that selected, you can actually lower the actual complexity of your model for your game engine. But in essence, you see that's not got very much topology now at all. But in essence, it's still the same kind of shape. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you found it useful, please subscribe to my channel. Some shape keys and you could actually animate this, I believe. Or you could add a rig to it, because it does look a little bit like a little man, doesn't it? Yeah, sort of dancing. Anyway, bye for now, and hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you later.